Switzerland!
A beautiful alpine country in the heart of Europe, but not in Europe. A paradox?
Not really. It's just because the Swiss decided long ago not to join their neighbours in the club known as the European Union.
Another way of looking at it, Switzerland wants its cake and to eat it too. That's why it's agreed a lot of deals with the EU, so the Swiss can enjoy the best of both worlds.
The deals, or bilateral treaties, facilitate everything from trade to transport, science projects, and visa-less travel around Europe. But then there's this very Swiss thing called direct democracy that at times can throw a spanner in the works.
Let's go back nearly a quarter of a century to look at a key event. That's when the Swiss voted
No.
to joining the European Economic Area. What's that?
The EEA is kind of like the EU, but a little larger, allowing non-EU members to participate in the EU's internal market.
But Switzerland didn't want any part of that, so it set off on the bilateral path, wheeling and dealing to create its own special relationship with the European club.
In 1999, it agreed to the free movement of people with the EU. That means the Swiss could join EU citizens in deciding where in Europe they wanted to live and work. Switzerland's borders disappeared.
But 15 years later, the Swiss returned to the ballot box, and a majority of them decided this wasn't such a good idea after all. From 2017, the Swiss government should reintroduce quotas on foreign workers.
The EU was not pleased. It froze Switzerland out of an important science program, Horizon 2020, and its Erasmus Plus student exchange scheme.
It could get worse. If the Swiss can't find a way of imposing foreign labour quotas that is acceptable for the EU could tear up all bilateral treaties.
Always being on the outside looking in has other disadvantages. Switzerland has no say in EU policy, but must introduce new regulations to mirror regulatory changes in the EU.
For instance, Switzerland is planning several changes to its financial services laws to ensure that its banks can continue to have access to the EU financial system.
It must also keep in lockstep with revisions to the EU energy market in the hope that it can access cheaper electricity from Europe in the future.
Switzerland will remain in the heart of Europe, but it will never be at the heart of the European Union with unforeseeable consequences.